So thank you everybody for coming. I guess we'll start the presentation. I want to thank the Bigleaf folks for coming on today and sharing this product with us. We've been using it for a while now. We actually use it in our office, and once I started using it in my office, I will never not use it, just because we have, well, right now I'm at my house and I don't have one, and I wish that I did, because yesterday I dropped 2 separate phone calls because of internet problems. So they're doing a lot of work down the street and it's causing issues. So if I cut out, it's because I don't have a Bigleaf. Now at our office we have one, and we have 2 circuits, Comcast and AT&T, both gig fiber, but they're on and off all the time. And I know this also because I get texts from Comcast, I get texts from AT&T saying that everything's down all the time, but we don't notice. And it's because of Bigleaf. I mean, we have no idea that there are issues. I wouldn't know if I didn't get the monthly reports from Bigleaf, or if I didn't get the text from the ISPs. What I'll do to show people is I'll actually, call my desk phone, which a lot of you guys know my ringtone is Mario Brothers, like the hold music. So Mario Brothers will play on my speakerphone on my handset, and then I'll walk over and show people, here, let me unplug WAN 1. Everyone keeps working, everyone's doing VPNs, everyone's on RingCentral phone calls, doing remote support, and nobody drops anything. It's pretty incredible. But you would assume then, okay, well, maybe all the traffic's on WAN 2. So I plug WAN 1 back in, wait about 10 seconds for handshake, then I unplug WAN 2, and still, music's still playing. You got Mario Brothers in the background, you got everyone working. Nobody even knows that I just swapped both ISPs. So it's pretty incredible. So my job at WhyReboot, aside from starting the company, what my main job is to find gear that works reliably, high performance, enterprise grade gear that works 24/7, 365, something you'd find in a mission critical place like a hospital, military, whatever. And I was happy because I'd seen products like this before, like Mushroom Networks has one, but their pricing is all like voodoo, and they're also, the speeds that they could get were not that great. I think it capped off like 300 megs. Peplink has something, but they're falling short in features as well. There's other companies that have things like it, but nothing quite like this or to the level of this. And so as I'm looking for good products, one of our partners had mentioned this, and I started looking into it, and I was really pleased with what I saw. I think it really falls in line with everything else that we offer, and the kind of, high performing, no problem products that we're used to offering. And that's why we're here today. Is a lot of people asked for more information about it. The Bigleaf folks were more than happy to jump on and kind of give a deep dive, more than what I would be able to give. So I'm going to pass it over to them. David?
Awesome. Appreciate it. Well, pleasure to meet everybody. This meeting is definitely feels a little bit like the culmination of my entire career. I started in IT with home automation, and it was really an amazing place to start learning about IT. Was being installed at really big smart homes in our area. One of the homes, my day was installing 32 inch Samsung TVs in different rooms. And I got really good at hanging TVs that day. But what I noticed with that client is how sensitive, similar to a business, that they are to what their expectations are. We had smart thermostats, for example, and one of the thermostats was up 1 degree than it usually is. And within 30 seconds of the customer getting home, they recognized immediately that it was not the normal temperature. And at that moment, I realized how sensitive even the home environment is. And the attention to care is no different with a home than it is with a business. So then after the home automation, started a MSP business where I was providing technical support for clients. And between those two experiences, I really got a good idea of how connectivity is really important for businesses and the home. When I was working for businesses, a lot of the move was getting clients to the cloud. What we wanted to do was that they all have their servers, they're running all of their business applications right down the hall. And then, when I started, a lot of the transition was migrating to the cloud. And honestly, what I didn't account for the most was how well the connectivity was performing to enable the same experience as the server being down the room once all the applications were in the cloud. And that expectation is still true for home. Netflix buffers or highly sensitive applications like trading and any kind of interference. If there's no redundancy plan in place, then that's going to interfere with the experience. And the expectation is no different at their home than at their business. And there are many ways to replicate that same experience with other technical installs. As Bjorn mentioned, other competitors do it, but the configuration is ongoing. It's never, set it and forget it technically. There's always ongoing management. They add a new application. You've got to make adjustments for that. Or some investigation into what's happening. It's very challenging at times. So when I was introduced to Bigleaf, I found that it is the most simple tech I've ever seen relating to SD-WAN. SD-WAN, as I know it, was incredibly challenging. Hours, days to configure, ongoing management with they added a new application. Where's the QoS? Where does that sit in the internal? How is it improving the experience? Right now, it's just adding redundancy, but is it really improving how those applications that are hosted in the cloud are performing? Can the business still run? So coming to Bigleaf, I realized that tech doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple to deploy, but have immense impact to the experience and how those applications are performing. So touching on modern homes for a brief moment, I'd argue and for most businesses, there's more tech in a home than there is in some small, medium-sized businesses. I would install things like RTI systems, Crestron, and at that time, the remote control to program that is not simple like it is today. I'm sure everyone on this call is more experienced than I am with it, but it's literally drag and drop configuration with sequences or scenes on what to do, when to do it, and probably the most at the time it was like a 100K room home theater, and hit one button and the shades go down, lights dim, some stuff that is probably a lot easier to do today, but was a large undertaking to program then, let alone the AC, the AV. So how quick the tech has improved with homes, the network has not improved as much either. And that's why when we first met, Bjorn, obviously I was immediately drawn because of my past and hearing of how what they do and some of the jobs that they've done, where a lot of similarities from things that we solve for a business, but are completely, and I'd argue even more sensitive in a home. So, we've been working with WhyReboot for a little bit here, running through testing, ensuring that this is a good product for WhyReboot partners, customers, to make sure that when we say things like it's simple to configure, we understand that these are high value customers that you're dealing with on a daily basis. We can't risk deploying something that is going to diminish or hurt that relationship whatsoever. So whatever is deployed has to be, at top tier for the kind of sensitive applications that could potentially be running. So Let me go into what Bigleaf is. So, what I'll do, you guys understand smart homes, you understand how sensitive everything is. Let me show you how Bigleaf solves it. So, we've got a couple different, really, we've got a couple different things that really equal improving the outcome, the experience that improves all of probably potentially pain points that any one of your customers have experienced. So same IP failover. That is, one of our claim to fame. It is an incredibly challenging thing to replicate. We own our own network. We are in the same data centers where all cloud applications are hosted. We're in about 9 data centers across the US. And regardless of what internet connection is being plugged into us, you can plug in up to 4, the IP will not change. So if you're on Comcast on WAN 1 and that fails, and it fails over to any 5G carrier, that IP address is going to stay the same. In addition to that, we can add more IP addresses that's necessary. So that looks like if you've got an edge device like a firewall or whatever that is, it looks just like an ISP IP address. It's not going to change regardless of what circuit it's using. Deployments take less than 5 minutes. Not to brag, I can do it in less than 2. But the reason for that is devices arrive configured. It is literally plug and play. And before I get to the others, the reason that it is plug and play is because we've got an automatic algorithm that checks what kind of application it is. We don't look inside the traffic. We don't look at anything sensitive. We're just looking at the outside of the packet. So what we're looking for is the port number and the destination and signature to identify what type of traffic is it. Is it voice traffic, UDP, TCP, all of those factors? And then once we identify what kind it is, we put it in a QoS category. And I'm sure everybody here has heard QoS in the LAN. Personally, whenever I did QoS on the LAN, it wasn't effective. It didn't do anything. Because it was rarely a LAN problem. Most of the problems that I faced when everybody said, it's a QoS problem, do LAN QoS, it was usually a WAN problem, but that's next to impossible to identify. So once we identify the application, we create a VPN tunnel from customer site to one of our data centers. And that QoS on the WAN is respected from customer site to data center, where we are directly peered with Google, Azure, AWS, pretty much anywhere where a cloud application is hosted. We're directly peering with them. So voice, for example, is top priority. It is the most sensitive application there is and cannot, to Bjorn's point earlier, it can't take any kind of loss, jitter, capacity issues, stuff like that, or it's going to drop. So it is top, priority going to data center, directly pairing with, Cisco in this case, and coming back. And that's true from FaceTime to Cisco, Teams, Google, whatever it is, as long as it's identified as a VoIP application, it will have top priority. So along with that, we're also testing how those circuits are performing. We are testing 10 times a second for the latency, loss, jitter, and the bandwidth capacity of that circuit. And 10 times seconds is a lot. We are able to quickly make decisions on what is the best path for a session to traverse to be able to ensure that that application stays online. And that is our huge differentiator. Every other competitor uses a variation of what's called forward error correction. What forward error correction is effectively duplicate packets get sent down to 2 different circuits. Whichever one gets there first, that's where the traffic goes. With us, we are session-based. So what we're testing for is not just which packet gets there first. We're testing for what is the best path to traverse to ensure that that application is performing at peak performance. That's how we're able to consistently check. And what's very unique is typically what that's looked like with other competitors is WAN 1 is WAN 1. WAN 1 goes down, we're going down WAN 2. With us, we can blend across multiple circuits, and that can change multiple times. So if WAN 1 download, for example, has high latency, we're not going to utilize WAN 1 high latency. We can load balance. We can still utilize WAN 1 upload and WAN 2 download. And then if latency on WAN 1 goes back to normal, then we can utilize WAN 1 again. So we're constantly checking and moving applications to ensure that they get top performance. So session integrity. So what session integrity is once the WAN 1 goes down, because of how we're testing, because the static IP doesn't change, and we're doing WAN QoS, we're ensuring that no matter what, whatever is business critical stays online and maintains this session, and make sure that, the way a typical firewall handles this is it does a ping test. Yeah, you've got two internet connections, WAN 1, WAN 2, and all the firewall is doing a ping test. Are you alive? Are you up? Are you up? Are you up? And the answer is yes, but it doesn't account for brownout situations or high latency, high loss. It's just if it responds to the ping, it's up. Doesn't mean it's usable. So if WAN 1 fails, that is a problem. And that's where there are a lot of connectivity issues when utilizing potential firewall, something like that with us. We test each circuit 10 times a second, and we're able to quickly move traffic over. So the highest potential buffer you would get with us is 3 seconds. And 3 seconds is the most in a traditional backup only. How my network is set up, and I will show you, is load balance, where I would argue you might not even see any kind. So you have the capability, depending on the type of circuits you have, whether they have a bandwidth, a data cap, something like that, where you only want to load balance certain traffic. With load balance, you will likely not see anything. And what's important is the session maintains. The session is not going to drop. So with direct cloud peering, we already kind of briefly touched that. We're peered with all cloud applications. There we go. So how we're deployed. Very simple. So routers arrive completely configured. You can plug in up to 4 internet connections. So we work with DSL to Starlink. As long as it has an Ethernet handoff, then we will use it as a connection. So I was reviewing a site the other day that still utilizes DSL, and we're still utilizing it. It is a very dirty looking circuit. You wouldn't think it would be usable at any capacity, but we're still utilizing it. And Starlink. I've got a Starlink at my house, so we can review what that circuit looks like. But it's a great connectivity source. If you're in an area that does not have any kind of connectivity like 5G, and they've got fiber coax, well, utilizing Bigleaf, I would highly suggest Starlink. We're able to ensure that some of the latency that Leo has, understandably, we mitigate that and ensure that whatever has top priority gets top priority with those applications. So once the router arrives, you simply plug in the internet connections into, we have WAN 1 through 4, and then there's one LAN that gets plugged into whatever the edge device is. So at my house, I've got Eros. My LAN gets plugged directly into my Eero, and then my entire network is utilizing Bigleaf. If you've got a firewall, you would plug a single internet connection into that firewall, and we're handling the performance, the connectivity for that site, and the firewall's doing the security features. So I think that's everything there. Let me go into our dashboard so you can kind of see a little bit of some analytics and show what we're doing. But before I do that, at my house, I've got 3 internet connections. I've got a Comcast, Starlink, and a 4G. And right now, the way that I've got it set up is the Starlink is load balancing. Everything is load balanced across the board. So I'm going to pull my biggest internet connection, which is my Comcast. So I will, for the rest of this call, only be utilizing my my 4G and my Starlink, and we'll be able to see what's happening with that. Pretty unique and challenging with that. But I'm going to unplug it right now. You'll see it is unplugged. Cable is right there, and it'll stay right there for the whole time. And then we'll check to see how that is. It'll take just a few seconds for everything to come through that the site is down here. But while we're waiting for that alert to come across, this is our dashboard. So this is a multi-site dashboard. We kind of built it for like a knock view. So this is how, WhyReboot will be very responsive with identifying any potential issues WAN related with customers, because there's more data here than any other competitor that I've seen in a very accessible way. When I was an MSP and any of my customers had an issue with the WAN, there's just this awkward trust with the ISP of, yes, I've waited 40 minutes on the phone to get somebody. I've already rebooted my modem. The issue's still here. And where I have to go through, I have to reboot it again, even though I've rebooted it. There's just an awkwardness there of like, you're working on a level of trust that you can't identify or verify with the ISP. So with Bigleaf, you can run some diagnostics, and I'll show you these that help validate where potential issues are. It's happened multiple times with me where I've been helping with a live install, or customers called me and said they're having an issue, but the ISP has been out 4 times. One of the installs, I didn't know this at the time, but they just told me they were deploying Bigleaf, so I tried to assist with that, but it wasn't working. Something was wrong. So I got our support team involved, and we looked at it and saw that their 100 meg DIA fiber circuit was operating at 100 down and 0.04 up. Nothing was initiating. And then found out that they were trying to deploy a cloud phone system, and that wasn't initiating. And then the ISP had been out 4 times to try to fix this issue. And what we found was that, we ran some tests and found that the issue was with the modem. Next day, ISP came out, replaced the modem, and the issue was solved. So with my experience, a lot of WAN related issues is just being able to identify the issue quickly. If you can identify the issue quickly, it shortens the time to resolution, obviously, and that's really what Bigleaf assists with. So there's 2 different views with our dashboard. This is a multi-tenant dashboard. So you'd be able to see your customer's site as well. So you can review it by circuits. This helps identify if there's any large scale outage, if you will. With this, any kind of data consumption, if they've got data caps, just helpful information there. And then for the site view, you get to see all the sites that you have. So my site, Seoaks, you can see I've got an alert. I've got a site circuit down. So recommended action is just if I expected the outage, or is this an issue? So diving into my site, the first top half here is just a snapshot of my site. You can confirm in 2 different sections that I have my WAN 1 down. Comcast is down, and we're utilizing my wireless and my Starlink. Below here is everything that we've done, just helpful network information that helps identify any potential issues or qualify what are we doing? Why are we plugged into this network? So right here is the data transferred. So this is just in the last hour. Sorry, in the last hour. So you can review this. These are the QoS categories that all the traffic is automatically put in, and we're putting that data in there to ensure that the network can stay online. And then that is broken up per circuit. You can review which circuit is carrying the heaviest load. Where's that traffic going? So right now, just checking this, looks like my VoIP is primarily covering, or my Starlink is handling my VoIP. So we'll on the next screen, I'll get a little bit more in depth into that. All this is just helpful network information, but the one that I want to point to the most right now is the uptime improvement. That's that session integrity piece where if we didn't have another circuit to load balance, there's nothing we could do to help ensure that this call stays online, and otherwise it would have dropped.
Can I just say really quick that it's pretty ballsy that you're going to continue the rest of this on just your cellular and Starlink?
Yeah, I've only had it fail. I've been at Bigly for 5 years, and honestly, I've only had this fail twice. Both times it failed. It was at this point, it was when I only had two circuits, and I had my one circuit unplugged. I'm only operating on one circuit, and that circuit had an issue. So, if I do have an issue, it's usually because for some reason at the same time the other circuits have an issue, but I've done quite a few of these and have not run into any issues. So hopefully this doesn't turn into a Tesla truck presentation. We'll try to get through this. Reviewing the performance tab, let's see what's going on once I cut that circuit. So the top half here, the throughput, packet latency, and loss, this is how all the circuits are working combined. So whatever bandwidth, whatever latency, that's how it is. This is all with a time range. So you can go, up to 30 days and see how well, like what has been the consumption. Where this really helps is if you're in any kind of conversations with your customer on, and this is probably the most challenging conversation you would be in, is the ISP sold me a gig. I absolutely need a gig everywhere, or 2 gigs, 5 gigs, whatever the conversation is. I've got 2 gigs to utilize across all of my circuits in my house. And you can see, even with bursts, I'm not going over 500 megs. If we didn't care about bursts at all, I'd be under 100 megs of consumption. So, where I've found Bigleaf helps the most is deploying Bigleaf is the difference between MapQuest and Waze. Both you know where the destination is for both, you've got the directions for both, you know where the turns are for both. But what Waze accounts for is any potential issues along the way that are going to ensure you have a better experience. Accident up ahead, we're rerouting that. We're going around a different way because you're going to be stuck in traffic and nothing's going to work. Or cop up ahead, car on the side of the road. Avoid that. And that's the difference between just bandwidth and prioritization. And that's what Bigleaf is we are assisting in the prioritization of that traffic, going directly to where the application is hosted and avoiding any potential issues along the way. So let me draw this step back down to 15 minutes to when I cut this call, and we'll see what happened. So we can see that right here, this is the call. And here is me cutting the circuit, and looks like just a little bit is traversing on the cellular, and mainly this call is being done on Starlink. So you can see that both up and down and just a touch of the cellular is being utilized there. Not a whole lot is being used on the cellular. So you're able to identify potential issues. And since we're here, let me show you, I forgot to show you this part, apologies, of like what a messy circuit looks like. So this is Starlink, this is a Leo. If this was a fiber, especially DIA, if you have any of those, the major issues. Leo, we expect a level of dirtiness to the circuit. So whenever an alarm hits anything above a 4, that's where it could impact the application, and we're making changes or adjustments to ensure nothing, happens to that application. So with all these, like I call them micro outages, we're constantly load balancing to mitigate those, and we're putting the application on different traffic. Then for the dips where there's nothing, then we're utilizing the Starlink. So last thing I'll show here is just all the diagnostics that can be run per site that help in identifying potential issues. So all these tests are extremely helpful, from speed test, trace route, T-speed dump. These are all tests that your ISP is very familiar with. I'm sure everyone on this call is familiar with. They're good networking tests that can be right on the edge. So as soon as you get that call, identification is a lot simpler for resolution. So I believe that's everything I've got.
Yeah, just to
Cool.
add on that really quick. So everyone's gotten the call, and I know we get it where somebody, a partner, reaches out and says, "Hey guys, the homeowner says the internet's down, right?"
Mm.
And we always ask, well, are they able, or sorry, Wi-Fi's not working, because a lot of homeowners think Wi-Fi means internet. And so they'll say Wi-Fi is not working. So we always have to ask, like, okay, are they still able to control their system? Are they able to view their local cameras? Trying to figure out, like, is it the Wi-Fi? Is it a switch? Is it the router? Like, what is it, right? This just makes it so easy. I wish that this was, you know, more affordable for every system so that we could put it everywhere, just because it would make all of our lives so much easier. And then also, something that David didn't touch on is that because of the static IP, right? Even if you have Starlink and it's not bridged, like remember when Starlink first came out, you would get a CG NAT address, and so you couldn't reach the site remotely. Now you can actually get a publicly a routable IP if you have the business service. But even if you have cellular or HughesNet, right? No matter what it is, even if the modem, we always see Comcast modems going out of bridge mode when they do an update or something like that. It doesn't matter if it's in bridge mode or not. It doesn't matter if it's cellular. It doesn't matter if it's HughesNet. You're still connecting to that static IP to be able to get into the system, which I find awesome. It just there's so many things. I mean, aside from the fact that it's just going to keep their connections going, there's so many other aspects to it that just make it an amazing solution and
Yeah.
really helpful.
And with Starlink, the other thing that they've recently done is change the billing model to I don't know what their exact plans are, but I know at one point it was 50 gigs. And if you consume in a month more than 51 gigs, you're then automatically moved up to the next plan. That's strenuous with a partner customer relationship, obviously, because it's a cost they didn't account for, and you didn't get to give them a heads up. It just automatically happens. So we quickly launched a data metering and kind of control of that. So on a circuit level, you're able to add right here any data metering. So what is the data cap for that circuit? And right now, this is just visibility. This one is stopping it. When do you want to stop traffic from traversing on that? So let's say you've got a customer who's got a coax and fiber and a 50 gig Starlink, and they don't want any increase on that Starlink. You can set data caps, and then once we'll automatically send an alert, I believe, at 75% consumption. So you can let them know they're about to hit it. And then what do you want to do? Do you want to go with this increase of charge, or do you want to stop traffic from traversing on that until the next month? So that's relevant for any circuit, not just Starlink. If there's a data cap circuit, you have some easily accessible control right within our dashboard.
I really wish that you guys had POPs in the middle of the ocean, because I just got another request for a super yacht, and they need exactly that. But this is not going to work.
We are on a couple yachts, and the reason is that Starlink has the two different models of in motion and not in motion. So whenever they're docked, they use one Starlink, and then whenever they're in motion, they use another one. But I think for one of them, it was even different, that it was something like per region. When they crossed over a certain point, one Starlink kicked in, and then once they passed the other region, the other one kicked in automatically. So they're utilizing us to ensure that nothing happens. They're always connected.
Yeah, but if a yacht's going all the way across from the Caribbean to Europe, then you're going to be stuck on your closest POP that you're set up on, right? So all the traffic's going to have to go through.
Fair point.
Yeah, you need some POPs in the middle of the ocean.
That's right.
Get on it.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. There were some things that I thought of while you were talking, and it totally spaced on me. But I guess, does anybody have any questions? You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you do. And we got Tyler here, can answer questions. We got Nathan, we got David, of course, and myself. If you have any questions, I know that Nathan's going to be mad at me for not bringing up the fact that I mentioned our job is to try to find products that really work, but I mean the reason for that is because we're a support company, and if we have products that work correctly, that perform the way they're supposed to, and that don't die, then we're able to support you guys better. And then also information like what we get from Bigleaf that allows us to support you better. And just so that you know as well, when you purchase this is a multi-tenancy system. So you'll be able to see all of your sites. You'll be able to see the exact dashboard for all the different sites that you have as well. Like with everything that we do, we want to be an extension of your IT department. So we're not going to hide this information and have it in the background where only we can see it. We try to pick solutions where you can also see the data and also see what's going on, so that you can help your end customers much better and not just have to rely on us all the time. Just like we give you guys the passwords for everything, we want to be a true partner in helping you as much or as little as what you need. There's a question from Jim Kraft. I assume without multiple WANs, no analytics, etc. Yeah.
So you get minor analytics. You would still get the QoS of what traffic's happening there, how the WAN is performing, like the whole performance tab that we showed, but we're not able to move any traffic. So these bottom four are the ones that high priority packets and QoS adaptations would be utilized. That's effectively us putting the traffic into the QoS categories, but you're right. If we don't have another circuit, then we can't do anything with that circuit. So some of the analytics would be impacted.
It would give you the quality of the one circuit that's up, but it wouldn't give you everything.
Right.
Right. But you still get that remote access. David, I guess you did such a good job explaining it. There's no questions.
I was gonna say, Jim can't be the only one with the question. One thing that wasn't touched on, when you're adding the cellular connection, you can do it in a couple different ways. You can do it, Bigleaf. You can get the cellular service through Bigleaf. It can tie into, your homeowner's plan, and just put a SIM card in. So we have different ways of addressing the cellular connection if you're looking to add that on as one of the WANs.
Correct.
See if I
Chad cannot unmute. Seeing if I can get him.
Yeah, let's unmute him. And then Travis Beery texted me privately on this. He said, "How does pricing work?" So I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. It is not cheap, right? It's not. But we have ways to work around that as well, because as David showed you before, we can see what the circuit's actually doing, like what you're actually using, and most people are not going above 300 megs. Now, obviously, they want their little speed test. Everyone wants to beat everyone else with their favorite video game, speedtest.net, and compare with their neighbors. What do they want? Do they want reliability? Do they want it to really work? How much are they willing to pay for that speedtest.net, right? But reach out to us on pricing. It's in our latest price sheet as well, if you have it. If not, just reach out to orders and they'll send it to you.
Yeah, and
anybody who wants to have a private conversation in regards to that for their customer and what's going to make sense and how that's going to work, let us know. Depending on the project, we may have tools to be able to look at your historical data usage on that site, things like that, and kind of determine what the current bandwidth usage is and figure out what a great starting point for that customer can be.
Awesome. I think I figured out how done. There you are, Chad.
There it is.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir. Awesome. I guess maybe this is more for WhyReboot, but yeah, what does this mean in terms of like, an AV company that hires WhyReboot to do a lot of our network services? And just, I don't know how that's going to look in terms, you just said the pricing is in there, so you kind of, I was just thinking about that right as you said that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it would be that's pretty much any other gear that we offer, right? Let me mute you just for a second, just because I think there's some feedback, and then we'll unmute you again. So just like any other gear, right? So we pre-configure in the cloud. So the appliance we can drop ship to you, and we pre-configure the circuits on a dashboard before it gets there. And then once the unit is delivered, it plugs into the internet, and then it downloads all of its walking papers from the cloud. The best part about Bigleaf is that technically you don't even need to have a WhyReboot network. It can go into any network because it sits between the modems and the router. So all that you'd really need to do is be able to get into that customer router and then change the IP addressing, which is either DHCP or static, and you put the static IPs that we give you in there, and you're off to the races. So if you have sites that aren't WhyReboot networks, it doesn't matter. You can still put this in, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a home, whether it's whatever it is. You just put it between the modems and the router, and you're good to go. And we will support it, with warranty and with configuration or whatever, just as we would any other gear that we offer.
Yeah.
And how did we unmute
You press the name, not
that
the
before?
I know that's confusing. It's kind of odd.
That is really confusing. I still can't unmute him.
There you go.
Right, thanks. Yeah, I might have a little feedback here. I know there's a lot of monthly subscriptions depending on, your security level that we subscribe to. Would that be initiated kind of separately with Bigleaf, or would that be through WhyReboot, just like the rest of, the cloud services? And
It would all be through us.
So
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Bjorn was saying, we can add this onto any existing project you already have without changing the network out. It can literally just be added as a standalone or any level within there. So anytime you've got a customer, regardless of what network it is, let's have a conversation, because it's a very easy to deploy solution that can immediately provide returns on client experience satisfaction.
And if anyone else has a question, there's a little button to raise your hand, and then I'll have somebody help me unmute you, because apparently I don't know how to do it. And if not, we can just talk about FIFA, which I don't care at all about.
Did you see what the most expensive ticket sold was?
No, I imagine it's in the tens of thousands or more, I guess. Probably hundreds.
You're very wrong. The most expensive ticket for any sporting event ever sold was for the FIFA World Cup at $11.5 million.
That's just stupid.
I'm not kidding. It broke.
You know how many big leafs you can buy with that?
$11.5 million.
That's nuts.
Wild.
God bless them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? I'm in these like my friend chats, like my college chats and my high school friend chats. All they talk about right now is soccer, and it's just driving me nuts. It's like, can we talk about something else for a minute? But no.
Well, real quick on Corbin, I know Nathan responded, but you're right. 4G, even DSL, if you can find it, is pretty challenging to utilize, especially for a home. But keep in mind, right now I'm on 4G and Starlink, and those are the use cases that I would definitely consider Bigleaf and Starlink if there is a 4G, because they can kind of help themselves deliver a better circuit. One-on-one, probably not, not really comparable to a coax, obviously, but if you utilize them together, they can be a much, much better experience.
And Bigleaf has you can bring your own cellular, or we have subscriptions as well for cellular, and there's external antenna options for those racks that are sitting in the basement and don't get good cell coverage.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
That's
using.
another plus.
Our remote right now. So this device, you can connect it via Ethernet, but then I also have the external antenna outside. So try to replicate, even if it was in a basement or a safe room, then you could get it external if you needed to.
And there are HA options as well, where we can have two Bigleafs running simultaneously, which Nathan actually has two behind him on a network that we're building right now. And sorry for the mess in our office. We're about to move to our HQ's been building out for 2.5 years now. And things have spilled out of the warehouse in the space that we're currently using. Although a lot of that is actually one network that we're configuring, believe it or not. Pretty insane network. There you go. That's the two. I'm wondering why they're not connected to the stack yet. But,
Lots
we'll
of
get to it.
reasons.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
All right. Anybody else have anything else? Speak
to
now.
actually answer your question is because it's so easy to incorporate Bigleaf at the time of deployment. It's the last thing that we bring into the system. So we've vetted everything. We know it works, and then it gets tested right prior to being sent, so that it's just easy to deploy.
This is true. All right. Well, I guess we can end early. Let everyone get back to work. All right. Well,
everybody.
yep. Yep. Thanks everyone for showing up, and thank you to the Bigleaf team for helping us out, as always.
Thank you as well.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye guys.